Welcome to CapSim's TeamMate. Our topic of this video is becoming a high-performing team. We have placed this software in the MBA program really for two primary objectives. First, we would like you to be able to get an understanding of how teams work and to provide some remedial tools for improved performance. This both individually and also as you work through the program, also in your group and teamwork. If you can take this information to your career, right? Everybody understands that working in teams is prevalent in many of life's activities. So if you can take this into your outside life, striving to work well in groups can save time, and in the end it can provide opportunities for improved career placement. So let's think about what we're going to talk about in this version, in this video. The importance of teams. We'll talk about how teams function, some stages of development, some other factors that we'll look at and will be assessed, and we'll also take a little bit of a look at some performance measures and discussion. So the importance of teams. We've already mentioned that teams are everywhere, right? They're in nonprofits, they're in profits, they're in clubs, they're in almost any association that you can be in. There is teamwork involved. Virtually all of the organizational decisions that are made by teams, right, are the decisions of the company. In other words, individuals make very few decisions in the corporate world. Most of it is done by committee work or by teamwork. So the promise of working in teams, what this can do for us, it can help us to outperform others, right? It gives us additional skills, additional experiences and judgment. Right? It makes us more flexible and responsive to change. So in the end, this provides us with opportunities for personal growth and opportunities for career growth. So again, what are teams? Essentially, teams are two or more individuals that are working together adaptively, interdependently, and dynamically towards a common goal. Teams can take all different kinds of forms. They can be based on projects alone, which essentially implies that the people on that team are somehow related in purpose. Or they could be cross-functional. And quite frankly, that's what we have here at Thomas More, right? Cross-functional teams are the most common form of teams in organizations. They're used to solve organizational-wide programs or generate creative ideas for growing the organization. So the use of teams at Thomas More reflects this cross-functional relationship. The people who are our teammates come from different experiences, both work experiences, personal experiences, and academic experiences. So again, the overall goal here is to try to make a smooth path to learning. So the use of teams to assist students that are lacking in experience and or academics is part and parcel of what we do at Thomas More. Everybody has some skin in the game. Thomas More, our faculty, our department, our goal is to provide you with opportunities to learn. This is a tool. Working in teams is a tool that can help bring others up in level. Not everybody has the same skill level across the board. Some folks, in fact, most folks have a weakness. Some people are very good at numbers. Some people are better at computer skills. Some people have better writing skills. We need to bring our groups together so that we can utilize and deal with those differences and bring everybody's skill level up. So effective team functioning starts with obviously some inputs, right? What is it that goes into the mix? So we have individual skills, we have team skills, we have environmental resources and impacts and constraints. All of those are the input characteristics. The communication portion, which refers more to the process, which is the action part, is the communication and the integration, the adaptation to those environments, to those inputs that we're putting into the system, if you will. And in the end, we have these outputs, right? It's the net opportunity to provide a product that is useful, a product that solves a problem in a thoughtful way, right? So in the end, how this all works together, right? The task work talks about accomplishing the operational and technical tasks. The teamwork involved talks about the process of that. How do we coordinate and cooperate, etc.? So research has clearly shown that effective teams must engage in successful task work and teamwork. This same principle applies to Thomas More team assignments as well. For example, in these simulations, task work would refer to technical activities needed to make operational decisions in your group assignments, whereas the teamwork would refer to the various interpersonal behaviors that facilitate making these operational decisions. So they are part A, part B, sort of like, which one comes first, the chicken or the egg? They have to work together in unison to be able to have a project or a team functioning effectively. Now, there's lots of discussion about how teams are developed. Of course, we're going to take some, because of the nature of our classes, the length of our classes, we're going to skip by some of these sessions. So obviously we don't have to worry about pre-team stuff. The forming stuff, groups will be formed in each different course within Thomas More. But we need to kind of start here. We need to have some storming. And for me, storming really just talks about getting together, talking about ourselves, talking about our groups, our experiences, our skill level. Let's talk about how we can act together, or how we will pull those skills together to help ourselves move forward. In the norming stage, right, here we're gonna develop a common set of expectations. We're gonna talk, what is it that we want to get from this particular project, right? You're going to be provided a document that addresses some of these characteristics and expectations, right? So this template, right, the document that you receive, you should review this document and make sure that your norming activities are addressing the requirements within each one of these projects and their assignments. Then, of course, is the performing stage, right? We need to complete the projects. There are several projects that are very adequately described within the MBA program. Once those projects are all completed, that is when the class ends, obviously we will have to wrap up the group, right? So there are three things we need to kind of understand about these stages and the development, right? Teams don't necessarily become more effective as they work through these projects, right? Or through these stages. Effectiveness is complex, right? There's a number of factors that affect this. And the nature of the task and the type of team that's created impacts where you're at in this cycle and how well and how effectively you can work in that cycle. Being able to identify those steps, these characteristics, can be very helpful in revising, in nurturing the team group environment that you're working in. So how can we ultimately bring this all together? TeamMate looks at and assesses several things. It looks at individual behaviors, preparation, execution, monitoring, adjustment. It also looks at team processes. So in this exercise, as we go through this course, you will be evaluating several things, right? You will be evaluating your peers, the people that are in your group. You will be evaluating how they are performing with respect to these 4 categories. There are questions that are asked. There is a sliding bar scale, and you will give them an assessment from 0 to 100 on how you feel they are performing on that particular question. With respect to the team attitudes, we'll also be looking at a series of questions that you will be looking at your team. How is the team working? So there's lots of research that's been done that pools this assessment tool together. So the individual success levels, right? Preparation, execution, monitoring, adjustment. You can read the descriptions here, but essentially we're looking at how the individual is working in the team environment, right? Do they recognize mistakes? Do they gather information for problems, right? Do they work well with others? All of these things are questions and characteristics of how a person acts within the team environment. With respect to the team environment, we're going to look at cooperation, coordination, cohesion, confidence, conflicts, right? How does a team work these characteristics out, right? Do you think it's possible that from time to time there will be some conflicts? Absolutely, right? There's going to be some challenges as you work through any team. So we need to learn to bring ourselves together. The quicker we do that, the better off the product will be that we provide for the program. So how do you bring these things together, right? It's important to remember that performance is dynamic, right? It requires all of these factors, that we have to pull them all together. The factors enable and facilitate task work, right? More is better, right? Especially when you think about individual factors. So, final couple of points to remember. Team effectiveness relies on the effectiveness of individual members, right? The outcome that the team produces is directly related to how effectively the individuals work within the group. Performance in teams is dynamic and ever changing, right? It is not stagnant or stable. It is volatile. It is changing. Both task work and teamwork are required for the best success of the group, right? You can't enable and promote teamwork or teamwork if you don't promote and enable task work. And the critical success factors are not mutually exclusive, right? It's a zero-sum proposition, right? That, it's not a zero-sum proposition. The more you have is better. The more engaged you are, the better your group ultimately will perform. So let's think about the next steps towards success with this software package. We'd like you to review the Teamwork Toolkit that's provided in Canvas. It provides some strategies and tools for getting teamwork to work, to be more effective. It talks about how you create a team charter. If you already have a charter, make sure you review it, understand its content, possibly try to make some changes if necessary. There is some discussion of how you run an effective meeting, how to reduce social loafing and free riding. If you think about group activity, especially in academics, this is what drives people crazy, right? There are people who will not work to your expectations. There are people who will not give the type of effort that you may want to put in yourself. That is a fact of life. That happens at your work too. The difference is, at work you're getting paid to work through that. At school you're expecting a grade for this. So there is a difference, and I understand that. But we need to have an understanding of how you deal with these conflicts. It can help you when you get to application at work, right? How do we deal with conflict, right? How do we productively use any feedback that we receive? So in the end, we need to provide accurate ratings and discuss results as a team, right? You need to take this evaluation seriously, right? Very few people will ever earn 100%. Nobody is perfect. So when you're evaluating your team and when you're evaluating individuals, number one, remember that nobody will see how you graded people. In the end, what you will get is you will get some averages, if you will, of the data. So we want to review the results as a team. We want to talk about them. So the results from TeamMate provide some great information. First, there is an assessment of how the team worked as evaluated by your peers. However, the results that you see are shown relative to the results from many, many groups, maybe hundreds and thousands of groups that were tested in a national database. So you'll see how your group is performing relative to a national benchmark. Second, there's an assessment of how you performed utilizing the evaluations of your team and your self-assessment. Again, the results you see are relative to this national database. So you can see how you fared by looking at relative to national benchmarks. You can evaluate how you performed. You can, however, see the raw data, right? The raw data is just going to provide you with some averages. So from these averages, you won't be able to see how your individual teammates ranked you, but you will be able to see what the average scores were. So in the end, TeamMate provides developmental information that further explains these characteristics that were being assessed. It provides some feedback into how you might be able to improve on that specific characteristic, whether it's team-based or whether it's an individual factor. And of course, understanding how you perform and your perception of the results can be very helpful when working in any group or team. So I look at this overall tool, if you will, as a mechanism, number one, just to help you understand how academically teams are working. But I think a far more powerful takeaway from this experience is an insight into how you think you're working versus how other people think you're working. So you can now understand how to communicate, how to bring ideas together, right? You can look at your team and understand how it is performing. You may have certain perceptions, but compared to the rest of the world, those perceptions could be totally off. So there's lots of opportunities to take away information, provide it to future group work with Thomas More College, or you could also provide some help in developing some of your career opportunities to make it easier for you to understand how groups are working around you, so you can apply techniques to make the groups work more effective. I hope this exercise works well for us. Look forward to talking to you and seeing you in class.